Welcome to chapter one or lesson one of Hinges, Wings, and Flying Things. So, for the creation stage of this portion, where we're learning the basic build parts, where will ultimately be our AI flying creature, you're going to need a piece of cardboard. So, a piece like this or any piece of cardboard. And then you're going to need this stencil. So, step one is going to be to cut out your stencil as it shows on there. So, I'm going to cut this out as best as I can. Just work my way around. And we're going to use this to trace it onto the cardboard so that we can cut it out. These little tabs are optional for other attachments, but these tabs we're going to want to cut out because this is where we're going to place our hinges. So cut. I'm going to zoom in a bit here. All right, so then this should fold over. And I'm actually just kind of take that out. So that should be good. I'm actually just going to fold it over. I'm not going to cut it off because that will work just fine for the next step. All right, so cut that out. Then this piece, now I'm going to need to cut out what will be the hinge. I like doing things in big chunks when I cut out. Otherwise, it's kind of annoying to work with all that paper flopping around. That, and this stuff can be recycled. Okay, now I'm going to cut around these corners. It's a lot easier than trying to deal with all that paper flopping around. Then I'm going to cut this out. And this will allow us to seat it or put it over the top of the cardboard. So this will end up going on there. So I'm going to need to now trace this on here with my pencil. I'm going to put this up in the corner because there's really no reason to put it right in the middle because that makes me have to cut more things out. So I'm going to do this, I'm going to trace it, and trace it. Trace these little lines. Okay, so I have that traced. You can't really see it on there, but I did trace it. And then I'm going to trace these. I need 4 of them. So I'm going to trace this 4 times. So I'm just going to start from right here. Try to make it as well as I can. Line that up there. If I do them next to each other, that's a lot less cuts that I have to create. For the hole that's in the middle, you may be wondering how we're going to create that. We don't need to use like an X-Acto knife or anything. We're just going to use a hole punch to punch that hole out. Oops, got this little part. Okay, so there's 4. Okay, so now I have what will be the body and then the hinges. Okay, so then I'm going to go ahead and cut these out. I'm going to fast forward a bit to make this go quicker. When cutting these hinges, it's going to be easiest to cut down this little line here as far as you need to go in on both sides. Then what you're going to want to do is take this and push it through, kind of pull it down like that. All right, and then you can take your scissors and cut that little tag end off like this. All right, so then I have my little hinge piece. So you're going to make all 4 of these hinges exactly the same. And what we're going to do, like I said, is we're going to use a hole punch to punch the hole for where the little axle will go through. So for these little guys too, where this will end up going on like that, I'm going to cut down like that, and then just push this down, and then again, cut that little tag end off. Like that. So you're going to work your way around cutting all of those pieces out. So go ahead and do that. Okay, so I have these basic pieces done. So my next step after I have these, like I had said, is that we're going to hole punch the holes through. So these, we're going to hole punch them. And just take this, go as close as you can, kind of in the middle-ish, like that. And we're going to hole punch each of these. And if you need help, just ask around your friends if they can help you, or I can help you as well. So there's that one. Oops, sometimes these things get a little stuck. Got to wiggle it around a little bit. And there we go. If you can, these are shot all over the place. Please find the little pieces and get them in the garbage. Just helps keep this place clean. So these are going to fit on here now. And if they don't fit snug, we're going to have to add a little bit of glue. Just means that we cut these things too big. And not a big deal. This cardboard is pretty thin that I'm using. So I'm going to go ahead and put these on like this. And I'm going to get some glue and put some glue in there so it can stay on like that. So ultimately, you want this to be for the first portion of the build. In part 2, I will show you how we'll add then the next part of this build for our project. Okay, so now that you have the basic body built, you have the body, you have these notches that you cut out, and then you have what will end up being the hinges. And you want to try to make sure these hinges are, that these circles kind of line up with each other as best as possible. You want to make sure these are attached nicely. I had to use glue because I made my notches too big, and that's okay. So if you don't have hot glue, then some liquid glue will work great. It'll just take a little while for it to harden, but it'll work really well. So that's built, and I'm ready for my next step. So now I'm going to take a straw, and I'm going to cut it so that it fits in here, and it lines up with the whole body like that. And I want it to be free floating, and I'll show you why. So you're going to cut one for each side. All right, so I just have one for right now. Then we're going to take some paper, some construction paper, and we're going to make some wings. So these wings are going to fit onto there. So on your paper, what I would do is take your paper, line up, and then draw your notches so that they line up like that. And you want to make them pretty long, so like an inch long, so like at least 2 fingers for you long, because what you're going to do then is we're going to slide this paper through here, and we're going to glue it on here so so that there's a little space between the wing and the hinge. That's going to be so that the wing can go up and down. If we don't leave enough space, it will bump into it. You just have to cut a little more off of there. So I'm just going to take a little bit of glue then and dot it on here. And you could certainly use, if I can get glue to come out, some hot glue, but hot glue is not really for this. So this will work just fine. And then I'm just going to pull this up and over, and I'm going to hold it for a few seconds, and I could tape it too if I want. But if I hold it for a little bit, it should harden on there and then stay so that I am all set. So I'm going to do that to all 3 of those notches. Okay, so I went ahead and glued all 3 on. So now my wing will be free floating. So it will flap back and forth. So you may have to troubleshoot a little bit and solve how you can fix that. And you're going to have your second wing that you'll attach to the other straw on the other side. And that'll be the end of our build. So from here, we can like cut and add cardboard for a head, and antenna, all sorts of things. And we'll move on to the next part of our build after that.